The morning sun glinted off the glass facade of the Sterling Heights Corporate Center, a building that breathed wealth, influence, and unyielding professionalism. Inside the lobby, Maya Vance adjusted the lapel of her charcoal gray blazer. She wasn't wearing a name tag, nor was she carrying a designer handbag. Instead, she held a simple tablet and a lukewarm cup of black coffee. Maya liked to arrive early. As the newly appointed CEO of Vance Global Logistics, she preferred to walk the halls before the buzz of the workday began. It helped her stay grounded. She knew the names of the night shift security guards and which floor-buffing machine made that annoying squeak. She was standing near the executive elevator bank checking a delivery manifest on her tablet when the heavy scent of expensive, cloying perfume hit her. "Excuse me, you girl." Maya didn't look up immediately. She assumed someone was speaking to a colleague. "Hello, I'm talking to you." Maya turned. Standing there was a woman who seemed to be the physical embodiment of entitlement. She wore a bright pink tweed suit that screamed country club, a pearl necklace tight enough to be a hazard, and a hairstyle that hadn't moved since 1994. Her name, though Maya didn't know it yet, was Linda Harrington. "Can I help you?" Maya asked, her voice calm and level. Linda scoffed, waving a manicured hand toward a rolling leather suitcase sitting a few feet away. "You certainly can. My husband is Arthur Harrington. He's a primary shareholder here, and I have a very important meeting with the new CEO. I'm running 5 minutes behind because the valet was incompetent. Take this up to the 14th floor immediately, and find me a sugar-free vanilla latte, not too hot." Maya blinked. She looked at the suitcase, then back at Linda. "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I don't work for the concierge service." Linda's face shifted from impatience to a deep, ugly shade of crimson. She stepped closer, invading Maya's personal space. "Listen to me, honey. I don't care what your specific title is in the mailroom or the pool of assistants. I see a young woman standing around doing nothing with a tablet looking like you do. I'm telling you to be useful." "And how exactly do I look?" Maya asked, her eyes narrowing slightly. Linda gestured vaguely at Maya's braided hair and her lack of a proper executive assistant uniform. "Let's not play games. You're clearly the help. Now grab the bag. If you don't, I'll make sure your little internship or whatever this is ends before lunch. Do you have any idea how much power my husband has in this building?" Maya felt the familiar sting of prejudice, that old, tired assumption that she couldn't possibly belong in the room unless she was there to clean it or serve it. Usually, she would take the high road. But today, there was a board meeting, and Linda Harrington was heading exactly where Maya was going. "The 14th floor is restricted access," Maya said, a small, secret smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "But since you're so insistent, I'll make sure your needs are addressed when we get up there." Finally, Linda snapped, "And don't forget the latte. If it's cold, I'm reporting you." Linda marched toward the elevator. Maya didn't grab the bag, she simply followed. The elevator ride was tense. Linda spent the entire time on her phone, loudly complaining to a friend about the declining standards of the building's staff. "Honestly, Sarah, they just hire anyone these days. No uniform, no manners. I had to practically bark orders at this girl just to get her to move. It's a disgrace. Arthur really needs to talk to the board about the hearing process." Maya stood in the corner, silently typing a message on her tablet to her chief of staff, Marcus. "Is Arthur Harrington in the conference room? Good, tell him his wife is on her way up. And Marcus, don't announce me when I walk in, just let the scene play out." The doors chimed as they reached the 14th floor, the executive suite. The carpet here was thicker, the art more abstract, and the air smelled of mahogany and ambition. Linda stepped out and immediately began looking for a desk to lean on. She spotted Marcus, a tall man in a sharp suit who looked exactly like what Linda expected an executive to look like. "You," Linda barked at Marcus. "This girl downstairs refused to bring my bag up. She's lazy and disrespectful. I want her badge pulled, and where is my latte?" Marcus looked at Maya, who gave him a nearly imperceptible shake of the head. Marcus bowed his head slightly. "I'm sorry for the inconvenience, Mrs. Harrington. The board is already assembled in the West Suite. Your husband is waiting." "Good," Linda huffed. She turned back to Maya, who was still standing by the elevator. "You, stay here. I want your name and your supervisor's name the second I come out of this meeting. You're finished." Maya simply nodded. "I'll be right inside if you need anything else, Mrs. Harrington." In your dreams, Linda sneered, turning on her heel and strutting toward the double oak doors of the boardroom. The boardroom was a temple of glass and steel. 12 men and 3 women sat around a massive oval table. At the far end sat Arthur Harrington, a man who looked like he had been carved out of a block of granite. He looked up and smiled as his wife entered. "Linda, dear, you're just in time," Arthur said, though his eyes drifted to the door behind her. Linda took a seat in one of the leather chairs along the wall intended for guests. "Arthur, I had the most harrowing experience in the lobby. One of the junior girls, some little assistant, was incredibly rude to me. I want her dealt with." Arthur frowned. "Linda, not now. We're waiting for the CEO to begin the presentation. This is a big day. The merger depends on her vision." "Well, she's late," Linda whispered loudly, "which just proves my point about the lack of discipline in this company." Just then the doors opened again. Maya Vance walked in. She didn't head for the guest chairs. She walked straight to the head of the table. She laid her tablet down on the mahogany surface and tapped a button, activating the massive projector screen behind her. The room went silent. Linda's jaw didn't just drop, it seemed to disconnect from her face entirely. She sat frozen, her face turning a ghastly shade of white that contrasted sharply with her pink tweed suit. "Good morning, everyone," Maya said, her voice projecting with a natural authority that commanded the room. "I apologize for the slight delay. I was occupied in the lobby helping a guest understand our corporate culture." Arthur Harrington stood up, looking confused. "Maya, you met my wife." Maya turned her gaze toward Linda, who looked like she wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. "I did, Arthur, though I believe Mrs. Harrington mistook me for a personal courier. She was quite concerned about the quality of the service here. Specifically, she was worried about a sugar-free vanilla latte." The silence in the room became heavy, suffocating. The other board members looked from Maya to Linda, then back to Maya. They weren't stupid, they could read the room. Arthur turned to his wife, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous hiss. "Linda, what did you do?" Linda tried to find her voice. It came out as a pathetic squeak. I thought she didn't have a badge, Arthur. She was just standing there with a coffee cup." Maya stepped around the table, leaning against it casually. "That's the problem with assumptions, Mrs. Harrington. They're often built on the shaky foundation of our own biases. You saw a black woman in a lobby and decided her only possible function was to serve you. You didn't see a person, you saw a stereotype." I'm so sorry," Linda stammered, her hands shaking. "I didn't know who you were." "And that's the most telling part, isn't it?" Maya's voice was soft, but it cut like a diamond. "You only think people deserve respect if they have a title that intimidates you. You treat the help like they're invisible or inferior, and you reserve your humanity for the people you think can do something for you." Arthur looked like he wanted to vanish. "Maya, please, she didn't mean." "Arthur," Maya interrupted, her tone firm. "I value our partnership and your contributions to this company are significant, but I am the CEO of Vance Global. I set the tone for this organization. And the tone of this organization is one of radical respect for every human being who walks through those front doors, from the janitor to the chairman." She turned her attention back to Linda. "Mrs. Harrington, your suitcase is still downstairs by the elevator. Since you were so worried about the lazy staff, I'm sure you won't mind going back down to retrieve it yourself. It'll be a good exercise in self-reliance." Linda scrambled to her feet. She didn't look at her husband. She didn't look at the board. She kept her eyes glued to the floor, her face burning with a shame so hot it felt physical. She hurried out of the room, the clicking of her heels sounding frantic against the marble floor of the hallway. The meeting proceeded with a cold, professional efficiency. Maya delivered a presentation that was nothing short of brilliant, outlining a 5-year plan that would increase the company's global footprint by 40%. By the time she finished, the board members were nodding in enthusiastic agreement. Even Arthur, though visibly shaken by the morning's events, had to admit that Maya was the best thing to ever happen to the firm. As the meeting adjourned, Arthur lingered behind. He approached Maya as she was gathering her things. "Maya," he began, his voice raspy, "I owe you a sincere apology for Linda and for the fact that you even had to deal with that." Maya looked at him. She saw the genuine embarrassment in his eyes. "Arthur, you don't have to apologize for her, but you might want to have a conversation with her about the world we live in now. The help isn't who she thinks they are anymore, we're the ones running the show. Arthur nodded slowly. I think today was a very expensive lesson for her and for me. I hope so, Maya said. An hour later, Maya walked back down to the lobby. She was headed to a lunch meeting across the street. As she passed the concierge desk, she saw Linda. The queen of the country club was struggling. She was trying to lift her oversized leather suitcase onto a luggage cart, her pink tweed jacket hiked up uncomfortably, her pearls swinging wildly. The security guard, who Maya knew well, was standing a few feet away, watching with a neutral expression. He had clearly been told not to intervene. Linda looked up and saw Maya. For a moment, their eyes met. There was no mockery in Maya's gaze, only a steady, calm observation. Maya didn't say a word. She didn't need to. The power dynamic had shifted so completely that words were redundant. She simply walked past, the glass doors sliding open automatically for her. As Maya stepped out into the crisp afternoon air, she took a sip of her now-cold coffee. It tasted better than any latte ever could. She had been called an assistant, a girl, and the help, but as she looked up at the sign bearing her family name atop the skyscraper, she knew exactly who she was. She was the CEO, and the world was finally starting to realize it. Maya hailed a taxi, leaving Linda Harrington behind in the lobby, still wrestling with her own baggage, both literal and metaphorical. The lesson was simple, but for some, it was the hardest one to learn. Never mistake a person's character for their clothes, and never ever assume you know who's in charge just by looking at the color of their skin. The city hummed around her, a symphony of progress. Maya Vance leaned back in the seat of the cab, closed her eyes, and smiled. She had work to do.